Welcome everyone. So in this online class, we are going to look at some of the ways of ensuring you have an effective PowerPoint for synchronous or live online delivery. Throughout this unit, we will cover two sections. 1. Interactivity is key, and 2. Practical tips. Welcome to section 1. This is where we will look at how important interactivity is. So the number one golden rule is to keep it interactive. This doesn't mean anything magical or fancy. One simple suggestion is at the beginning of your class, ask them if they can hear you, and if they can, to reply by typing in the chat box. That's interactive. So what are some other ideas of keeping your live online class interactive? Always try and start off with an interactive activity. One suggestion is to use polls at the beginning. This will help set the expectation of continuous participation. You could have a word search as your first slide and give users permission to draw on the whiteboard. Don't give people a chance to tune out. Always remember, death by PowerPoint live online is worse than death by PowerPoint in the classroom. This is because live online, the only thing a student can see and hear is your slides and you. Always remember that synchronous time is premium time. What do I mean by this? This is where you get to add value. If you just want to talk over a PowerPoint, record it and let people watch that in their own time. There's no point in asking students to be live at a specific time if they cannot interact with you. A good rule of thumb is to ensure you are showing something on your screen at all times. Students will tune out if they are not engaging with something. Throughout the PowerPoint, it is a good idea to have placeholder slides for polls and activities with instructions as to what you would like the students to do. So what is a placeholder slide? I'll show you an example on the next slide. This is an example of a placeholder slide for a poll. The student would use the numbers beside each answer to respond to the poll. So for example, if they think the answer is the Book of Kells, then they would choose option 1 in the poll. On this slide, I'm going to show you some examples of adaptations from face-to-face class that you can bring into your live online class. So in a class, you might say, "Can I get a show of hands if you have ever?" For this, you can ask the class to use an emoticon or use the raise hand button. If you want a student to share an example, then you would simply make them a presenter and they can talk to the class through their own microphone. If you want students to brainstorm, then you could get them to do this in the chat box, and you can also use the breakout group feature where you can split the class into different groups. If you need to demonstrate something, you could use the application share feature, or you could use the webcam. Some lecturers would have a sheet of paper being recorded showing them working out an equation, for example. If you don't ask questions, learners aren't doing anything. Use questions to stay connected with learners. Plan your questions in advance. Ensure questions are inviting and relevant. Put questions on the slide so you don't forget them. Seed questions throughout the session. Tell people how they should respond, for example, chat or microphone, and make sure to give them time to respond. If you're designing a PowerPoint to be viewed on a projector or live online, try to adhere to the 7x7 rule. This is no more than 7 bullet points per page and no more than 7 words per line. Now this is a rough guideline. Don't be too strict with it, but equally don't stray too far from it. This is very hard to stick to. You'll see in this presentation I have sentences longer than 7 words, but always keeping this rule in mind will help you stay as concise as possible. And remember what we said earlier. You are who adds value to your PowerPoint. Your slide does not need to include all of the text you are going to verbally speak. Also, don't be afraid to use appropriate graphics to help make a point. Some slides might not need text at all. Ensure your images are relevant to slides' content. Otherwise, they only distract and confuse. But that's not to say that you cannot include images such as the one on this screen. This image is part of the PowerPoint design and is not distracting. However, as we discussed on the last slide, words should not dominate your slides. This is boring and causes listeners to tune out. Your voice should contact your words. Your slides should not. Okay, so now we have reached the second section. This is where we will go through some practical tips that you can use. Ditch the bullet points. Too many bullet points are bullet crazy. No one will remember 10 bullet points, but they will remember 10 compelling slides. Use each slide to build your case and incrementally tell your story. Consider your slides to be an outline for what you are saying. Try to share one idea per slide. No more than 7 lines of text. So similarly to the last slide, packing too much information into a slide, even if it's not bullet pointed, will completely undermine its purpose. Remember, the audience has to process everything you say while they view the slide. It is best to just have the one message you want them to take away from the slide actually written on the slide. All of the other information you can verbally say. Use sans serif fonts. So with typography, go for legibility over fun. While you can use a creative font for a slide title, avoid using it for body text. Instead, stick to clean, traditional typefaces like Calibri and Century Gothic. And if you are using a dark background, make sure the text is bold for readability. Size your fonts appropriately. Chances are you are designing your presentation on a laptop or a desktop, and that is a much different size than the final presentation screen. When sizing your fonts, keep it in mind that the text should be large enough to be read by that person using a mobile phone to connect to your class. Use no more than 5 colors. A harmonious palette can easily enhance the look of your entire presentation. There's no need for complex gradients or textures here. You can get excellent results with just the right colors. Try to use no more than 5 colors throughout your PowerPoint design. No more bad clip art. So you know that weird 3D white clip art guy that appears in every PowerPoint presentation ever? He sometimes has punctuation marks over his head, an exclamation point perhaps, maybe a question mark if he is confused. Yeah, him. Do not use him. It triggers a yawn. Instead, use meaningful images that add to your course, and do not forget to add in graphics that convey information, such as graphs or charts. Adding in clip art just to jazz up a slide does not actually engage students. Don't use animations, transitions, or hyperlinks in a presentation that you are uploading to Collaborate Ultra. This system removes both and shows a static image of your slides. If you do need to use any of these, then you should choose the option to screen or application share. So, the tasks for this session are: upload a PowerPoint presentation to your PathBright assignment. This presentation should consist of 5 to 7 slides. Submit 100 to 150 words on why you have incorporated a design theme suitable for the content being delivered. The presentation should apply design principles covered in the session and incorporate text and relevant images. Remember to check the CPD schedule to see when this should be completed by. You can find this in the Blackboard module EDSU Teaching Online. Thanks very much.